extremely complex budget, and there are some big decisions, and the governor's proposing significant tax increases, and that's a lot of money. It's going to impact people. So I want to hear what you think about that, because I'm supposed to represent you. So as you think about it, we could start with sales tax if that works. I know that and you can help me out here, John, that the governor is proposing this 5.5% tax, lowering that tax, but broadening it to clothing, and that tax would be on clothing less than $100, and then over $100. Thank you. But I'm not over $100, and also broadening it to services, and so that that would have there are various impacts. And so I'd like to hear from you if you think that's a good idea, if you think that we should do that, if there's a particular part of it you like or don't like, because I think some of you came here today to tell me what you think. Yes.
Well, I think it's a good idea. I think to broaden it and lower it. Because right now I think it's pretty spotty. There are some areas services that have to charge it, and others don't have to charge it. And I think it ought to be made fairer, that pretty much a lot of the services have to charge it. I'm sure there will be logical exceptions, but that's my thought.
That's your thought. Okay, do you have other thoughts? Yes.
I love Bill. Bill's a good neighbor, but I have to disagree though. I'm against anything that's going to raise additional revenues, which the sales tax is going to be raising additional revenues, so it's going to be, in essence, raising our taxes. And I'm against anything that's raising our taxes. I think that Minnesota should be working within the budget. Whatever we spent last year, we aren't in a position to be paying more into the state.
I was here in Minnesota back in 1967 when the first sales tax was proposed by Governor Levander. And it was proposed as a 3% sales tax, which would be temporary, which would give us over a hump in sales tax. Since then, it seems to be a cash cow for everything. If you need money for legacy fund, raise the sales tax. You need the money for the Twin Cities, raise the sales tax. You need the money for transportation, raise the sales tax. It seems to be a cash cow, and I really wish that some other way of raising revenue would be considered, because it's a mess. I'm a small home-based business, and I go out and I do two major things. I do publishing and I do consulting. And for publishing, I go around to the state to various book fairs. And I have to keep track of how much I sell in Minneapolis, how much I sell in St. Paul, how much I sell in Helena County, how much I sell in here. And all these little districts have their little sales taxes. Now, a lot of people, when they hear sales taxes, they think this is an easy thing, and that Target just has to adjust their software, and that's it. And for Target, that's fine, because they can pay the thousands of dollars it takes to keep track of sales tax software. I have to keep track of it by hand. And it's a big mess that I have to keep track of every little municipality and every little thing. If there is a sales tax, and I would prefer that other revenues be examined, but if there is a sales tax, I would prefer that there would be one sales tax for the entire state. If you need something don't let every little municipality have their little own sales tax. If municipalities need more, do an overall thing and then distribute that portion to the municipalities. If you need something for transportation, raise the sales tax for the entire state and distribute it to the municipalities. Because it is so hard for somebody like me to keep track of. And if it's for services, then I still have to keep track of. Am I giving a service for somebody in Duluth? Am I giving for somebody in Middle Falls?
So you prefer the other two taxes that we have, our income and property?
And I would also welcome you going to the University of Minnesota, where we have our brain trust, and saying, look, we need something other than the sales tax, and maybe even other than income taxes and stuff like that. What can you come up with? And I'm sure they'll come up with a million ideas to raise revenue that don't depend on the sales tax, and maybe not even on income tax.
I'll call them up. Okay.
Housing has been through a very tough few years. Many people have lost lots of money in the value of their homes. I'm just hoping that they're not considering a sales tax on the purchase or sale of a home, because that will really devastate the entire economy.
John, do you know what that is?
I would be very surprised at that because I know that specific discussion came up.
It'd probably be on the real estate fee that you pay.
But we'll check that one. Let's go on. Yes,
Well, there
ma'am.
is a Minnesota state deed tax that's collected on every transfer
Right.
of property, and then there's a mortgage registration tax. So there already is a tax on
Right.
the sale of
But
property.
I'm talking about the service.
Right,
The
exactly.
service probably.
Yeah.
If,
This is just Rick, by the way. He is the producer of Democratic Visions and is also going to be doing some taping today at the
yeah,
top.
thanks. My question is this: I have serious concerns about the sales tax as well. Our lack of sales tax attracts millions and millions and millions of dollars to the state of Minnesota in tourism, in travel industry, and in hospitality industry costs. Does the Dayton administration have a plan to market the state of Minnesota as a convention center, as a shopping center, if a sales tax is passed? I don't want one unless I know what that plan is.
Thank you. I think you know it's true here if we talk
As a matter of fact, let me make a comment here to everyone. Yvonne's trying to answer the question. If you have, put something down, many people put a name on it. If you put a card and give them with the name, I want to make sure it's Yvonne, that responses can get back. And so even though we may not get to your question, be sure to agree with your card. If you have a question, and just tell me. If you want an answer back, I will make sure you get it. Or if it's just a fit statement, just please make it and feel free to put your name on it. I will take it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I know it's squeezed on time.
Thank you, and I will make sure, I appreciate letting me know, but I will make sure that every question is answered and that one of our experts at the state will. Back there and then.
Well, I do just want to provide a little bit of perspective. I promised my friend that I brought with me that I wouldn't talk today. But I happen to agree with a broader, lower tax base. I moved here 7 years ago. I followed my husband. My husband brought our family up here for a work position. We left the great state of Texas, where I lived for 38 years, where there is no state income tax, and the sales tax rate is like 7.25% and above, depending on where you are. The public schools are terrible. The roads are terrible. The traffic, the condition, the pollution. It's cheap. You can buy for $400,000, you can have what equates to $1 million home here. You can't send your kids to the local public school. You can't count on the teachers having the kind of education that they have here. So when you think about, I don't want to pay more money, I don't want to pay more taxes, think about preserving what you have as it exists now, because it's unbelievable. It's paradise. It's like, you know, I can't believe the things that we have here that we considered a job change back to Texas. My elderly family is there. My husband's family is there. We cannot private pay for the autism services, for example, that my children get in Minnetonka schools for free. My son is in a classroom, regular classroom, he gets pulled out. 5 little boys who look just like him, high functioning autism. We moved here for those services. I couldn't private pay, even, you know, with a $20,000 raise in a cheaper state with no state income tax. Those services don't exist. I get them for free in the Minnetonka schools. Think about what you have. Think about preserving that, because it's not everybody has this. This is paradise to some of us. So I'm happy. I write property taxes, here you go. Base rate, lower and broader tax rate. I am delighted. And if my tax dollars offer that opportunity to somebody else, fantastic. So I just wanted to offer you a little perspective, because a lot of you grew up here. Minnesota, nobody moves because it's so nice. Most of you live within, some huge percentage of Minnesotans live within 2 miles of where they grew up, because it's a wonderful place to be and raise a family. I just wanted to throw that in there, because we're all struggling, and you know, job changes. I was laid off. I mean, it's tough, but do think about the wonderful thing that you have. Thank you for that.
I hesitate to disagree a little bit.
because I grew up here too, and it used to be more paradise. You know, our roads need working, we've got bridge problems, we've got problems in the schools, even though it's good. But comparatively speaking, we need a lot of things. And also, none of us want to pay more taxes. But I think we have to find some money somewhere. And where is it going to come from? I don't think sales, I don't want to pay more sales tax either. But maybe it needs to be more equitable. We do need somewhere to get the money. And the places we're talking about are sales, property, and income. I'm also noticing on here the 30 million from snowbirds. That looks like maybe a place we could get it. I don't know how we would propose to get it, but that almost is a contrast with the lowering of property taxes, because people who live here 6 months a year and can afford to go to Texas, where, they just vacation in Texas, and Florida and California and North Carolina, they have homes here, they pay their property tax. So if we lower the property tax and we don't get some money, then the snowbirds too come back they buy clothing, their kids still live here, so they come back to visit children, I think, and they're higher income people because they can afford to do that. I don't mean to be really critical because we have a lot of friends, and I'm sure other people do too. We can name several people we know that go for part of the year to Arizona, part of the year to Florida, and we like them. And of course, like Learned Man said, don't pay more taxes if you're not required to. So they're being legal. But if they're going to value this state for their children and grandchildren that are still living here, and they can come back and they can spend money, I think we can get, wherever you get that, how you get that 30 million, I don't know, but I think that's a good idea.
And I think that
I don't think
what the government is looking at is trying, and you could maybe help me out here, but is trying to kind of maybe even prorate the amount of time that they're here, because they do, you're right, snowbirds do take advantage of
they come back 1 or 2 days, they stay as many days. They look at the calendar, I've got friends telling me, well, we can't come back until this day in May because we left at such and such a date. So.
Okay, yes, come on, Dan.
One comment on that is, if we scare the snowbirds out completely, then we'll really be sorry. I guarantee you will be sorry.
If you've ever spent summer in Texas, you know they'll be back.